The night my own son told me to leave, the sky was black and heavy. I stood by the gate with a small plastic bag, my old house keys, and a thin shawl around my shoulders. The keys no longer opened the lock. My hands shook in the dark. I could see the shadow of my son, Imran, in the hallway. Behind him, his wife, Rania, held their baby close to her chest. My grandson's soft crying came through the door like a wound. "Ami, please," Imran said, but his voice had no warmth. "Just go, we will talk tomorrow." His eyes did not meet mine. He looked past me as if I was a stranger begging on the street. The porch light turned my tears into tiny sparkles that I wiped away with the back of my hand. "Then give me my Quran," I whispered. "It is on the shelf." Rania's answer came sharp and quick. "I will bring it to you later. Right now, we need peace." Her words cut like a cold knife. She did not want me inside the house I cleaned and prayed in, the house I cooked in, the house where I saved every coin to buy new curtains twice in 20 years, the house where my late husband's slippers still sat under the bed. The neighbor's window opened. Auntie Miriam's face peered out from the darkness, lines deep with concern, but she said nothing. She knew how family shame can swallow you if it reaches morning tongues. I lowered my eyes. Somewhere down the street, a cat knocked over a metal bin lid. My heart was also a metal bin lid, loud and empty. I did not cry out. I did not argue. My silence felt like a bridge over fire. If I fought my son, the flames would spread to the children, to the sisters, to the brothers, to the mosque, to the grave of my husband. I pressed my lips together until they were dry. This was my sabr, not a soft, pretty patience, but a heavy one, a patience that tasted like iron. I stepped away from the gate, carrying only my plastic bag, my old keys, and the ache of a mother who learned too late that a house is not only bricks and plaster. It is love, or it is nothing. If this story touches your heart, please follow Voices of Fatima, like this video, and share it with someone who believes in patience. Tell me in the comments, have you ever stayed silent to protect your family, even when it broke your heart? My name is Aisha. I am 65 years old. My hands are marked by years of stirring tea, washing clothes, and holding sleeping children. My knees ache when I climb stairs. My hearing is not as strong as it once was, but I still hear the call to prayer before dawn, clear and kind. I sit on a small rug by the window every Fajr and whisper the same simple dua I have whispered for years. Ya Allah, keep my family safe. Keep their hearts clean. I was married at 19 to a man named Saeed. He drove a bus and came home with the dust of the road on his shoes. His smile was quiet. He did not speak much, but when he spoke, I listened. He gave me a silver bracelet on our nikah night, and I thought it was the most beautiful thing I would ever own. We rented a one-room apartment with a small balcony. The balcony faced a narrow alley with cracked walls, but in the morning, sunlight slipped through and made our room glow. I was young and easy to please. I boiled tea with cardamom and listened to old songs on the radio while I folded laundry. I learned to make lentil soup the way his mother, Haja Salma, liked it. She did not smile at me, but she did not scold me either. In those days, silence felt peaceful. Our first child, Imran, was born with a thick head of dark hair. When I held him, my body learned a new kind of love, one that hurts even when it is happy. I would wake during the night, not to any sound, but just to look at him, to place my palm lightly on his chest and feel it rise and fall. Saeed would whisper, "Sleep, Aisha," but I could not. The pull was too strong. 3 years later, our daughter Nadia arrived, soft and delicate, with long fingers and bright eyes. She learned to walk early and talk even earlier. When she first said Ami, I felt a door open in my heart. Our youngest, Haris, came last, quiet from his first day, a child who looked at the world as if it was telling him a secret. We did not have much. I cut old clothes into cleaning rags. I mended socks. I bought potatoes when I could not buy meat. On Eid, I made a big pot of chicken and rice and invited the neighbors. Saeed worked long hours. Sometimes he came home without a word, put his pay in the tin box on the shelf, ate his dinner, and slept. I missed him even when he sat in the same room. There were days I felt marriage was a long road with tiny joys and big silences. But still, I was grateful. Gratitude is not always joy. Sometimes it is a decision. I decided it every day. We saved to buy a small house after 15 years of living in rented rooms. The house was not big. 2 bedrooms, a small living room, a kitchen with a window that looked out on a lemon tree, and a bathroom with a cracked sink that I scrubbed until it shone. The first day we moved in, I washed the floors until the water turned gray. I burned bakhur. I placed my mother's old mirror on the wall and said, Bismillah. The house smelled of soap and lemon leaves. I remember the sound of the adhan that evening, echoing between the buildings like a promise. On our first night, the children slept on thin mattresses on the floor, tired from carrying boxes. Imran lay on his back and traced the cracks in the ceiling with his eyes. Ami, he said, will this always be our home? I kissed his forehead. Insha'Allah, I said. In this house, we will pray, eat, and laugh. No one will push us out. I believed it. I had to. Saeed and I signed the papers at a small office. The clerk was bored, and the pen leaked on my fingers. Saeed paid in cash what we had saved and borrowed a little from his cousin. The deed was put under Saeed's name. In the future, he said, we will put it in one child's name. It is easier that way. I nodded. I did not think about it. In our world, the man decided, and the woman made everything gentle. My days had a rhythm: Fajr prayer, tea with cardamom, a few pages of Quran, breakfast for the children, laundry in a bucket, and the quiet joy of hanging clothes in the sun. The green of the lemon leaves touched the white of the cloth. Sometimes I stood still just to enjoy that sight. At noon, I prayed and made quick meals: eggs and onions, rice and okra, flatbread and cheese. In the afternoon, I watched the street from the window. Old men argued about football. Women in long scarves walked with bags of vegetables. Children played with deflated balls and shouted each other's names. Life was simple and crowded and alive. I kept a small wooden box on the top shelf of my cupboard. In it were letters from my late father, a faded photograph of my mother leaning on a blue door, the silver bracelet from my nikah night, and a small envelope with 2 thin gold bangles. They were my savings. Women like me do not have bank accounts. We have tin boxes and wooden shelves and quiet prayers. I never wore the bangles. I kept them for just in case. When Imran was 19, he started working at a small car parts shop. He came home with the smell of oil in his hair and grease under his nails. He was strong and kind. He helped me carry water and lifted heavy pots without me asking. He would pull up a chair while I cooked, talk about his day, and steal a piece of fried eggplant from the plate. Ami, your hands are magic, he would say. I would tap his hand and tell him to wash up and stop making a mess. Nadia finished school and learned to sew with me. We made pillow covers and sold them to neighbors. She liked bright fabrics. She liked attention. Sometimes she loved too hard and then hated too quickly. I worried for her. Haris loved the mosque. He swept the floors and helped the old men who came early to sit and whisper stories before prayer. He spoke softly, but when he smiled, his eyes warmed the room. He was my peacemaker. Saeed changed slowly. Small changes at first. He started coming home late. Once a week, became twice, then more. He did not explain. He kept a brown envelope in a locked drawer. When he was home, he ate in silence. On some nights, he stared at the television without watching. I learned to read his face the way women read the weather. Sometimes it meant storms were coming, but you still had to hang the laundry. We found a girl for Imran when he turned 23. Her name was Rania. She had careful hair and careful words. She smiled at everyone, but her eyes seemed to be measuring everything at once. Her mother was clever and quick. At the first meeting, she asked many questions. How much do you earn? What is the house value? Are you planning to move? Does your mother work? I told myself not to be small about it. Maybe she was just practical. We all needed practical people. Imran looked at Rania as if she was a light he had never seen before. I saw his face and I kept my concerns in my chest. The nikah was simple. Dates, tea, and a new scarf that I ironed carefully. Rania moved in with us. The house felt different. She liked things done in a certain way. She rearranged my kitchen without asking. She did not like the lemon leaves falling on the windowsill, so she cut the branches short while I was at the market. I wanted to be kind. I told myself she was young and new. I told myself to be patient. Sometimes she was sweet. She made caramel pudding for dessert and shouted, "Ammi, taste!" and kissed my cheek. Other times, her face turned hard. She said things like, "You know, in some families, mothers give the house to the eldest son. It is only fair." I said nothing. My silence was a room where I kept all the words that could start a war. 2 years later, my husband Saeed fell ill. A quiet illness that stole his strength and his patience. Little by little, he snapped at small things. He tired easily. He held on to that brown envelope like a life jacket. He still came and went without many answers. "Work?" he would say when I asked where he was. "Don't ask many questions." I learned to stop asking. I learned to speak to Allah when I could not speak to my husband. One evening, I heard Imran and Saeed speaking in the living room. Their voices were low but firm. "It is better, Baba," Imran said. "Put the house under my name now. It will save tax. It will save trouble later. You can trust me." "I know," Saeed said, his voice like dry wood. "But your mother, Ami is Ami," Imran replied. "She will live here always. The paper is only paper." I stood at the doorway and held my breath. I wanted to jump in and say no. I wanted to ask why this was happening without me. But I thought of the years, the way Saeed turned stone when I pushed. I stepped back into the kitchen and stirred the lentils, even though the pot was already off the stove. Steam touched my face. My eyes watered. A week later, Saeed came home with a sour look and the brown envelope. He placed it on the table and said, "Sign here." I asked what it was. He said, "Do you trust me?" I nodded. I signed. The pen left a blue line that looked like a river cutting through a field. Imran smiled and kissed my head. "Don't worry, Ami." He smelled like aftershave and breath mints. I kept smiling because I did not know how to do anything else in that moment. Nadia married a man named Kamal, who made promises like bread bubbles, big and shiny and full of air. At first, he seemed charming. He brought flowers for Nadia and called me Ami in a soft voice. But he loved the wrong things. He loved playing cards with friends. He loved betting small money that turned into big money. He loved feeling lucky. Within a year, he had borrowed from everyone he knew. When his luck ran out, he came to our door with long speeches and empty hands. Nadia cried into my lap and said she did not know what to do. I opened my wooden box and gave her one gold bangle. It felt like I had cut off a piece of my arm. Still, I was a mother first. Harris married Amina, a nurse with kind eyes and a strong back. She took care of everyone. She took care of me. She brought me warm soup when my joints hurt and told me to rest. Sometimes, I would fall asleep while she massaged my feet, and I would wake up with tears on my face. Not because of pain, but because kindness as an old woman is different than kindness when you are young. It is like a blanket placed on a shivering child. It makes you want to cry and say thank you at the same time. In the evenings, I still had my small joys. I made tea with peppermint, sat by the window, and watched the sky turn purple. I recited Surah Yasin softly, letting the words smooth my heart. Sometimes I found old letters from my father and read them again. "My brave daughter," one letter said, "be patient like the earth. The earth holds everything but still opens to rain." I would touch the paper and close my eyes. Then came the night my grandson, Ranya's child, was born. He was small and mighty. He gripped my finger with his tiny fist and refused to let go. I cried quietly and thanked Allah for this gift. For a few months, the house was soft again. Rania smiled more. Imran came home early. Saeed held the baby and forgot his hard face. I cooked large meals and fed anyone who came through the door. It felt like a good season, but seasons change. The brown envelope grew thicker. Saeed grew thinner. Imran grew louder at home and quieter with me. Rania grew confident. She gave orders like she was running a shop. "Don't hang laundry there," she'd say. "Move this chair. Please stop using that teapot." I would nod and lift things with my old hands, feeling my bones talk back. One afternoon, I took my old keys and went to the market. When I returned, my keys would not open the door. I knocked. Rania opened at last and said, "Oh, Ami, we changed the lock this morning. For safety. Here." She placed a new key in my hand, a small piece of metal that suddenly felt like proof that something had shifted away from me, something called home. "Tell me these things before you do them," I said. My voice was smaller than I liked. "Of course," she replied, not looking up from her phone. The whispers began as gentle suggestions. "Ami, the house needs repairs. We should sell it and buy a larger apartment for us all," Imran said one night. "We can manage," I replied. "This house is our root. It is only a building," Rania said, stirring her tea. "Home is people." I looked at her face. It was a beautiful face. It did not know that people can change faster than walls. I kept cooking. I kept cleaning. I kept praying. I kept my silence, not because I did not have words, but because I had too many. Words can be like water. If you let them flow freely, they can flood the house. So I held them inside like rain in a closed sky. Then came the day when Saeed did not come home. Hours turned to a night. A night turned to morning. We found him at the old bus depot, sitting on a bench as if he had simply fallen asleep. His heart had stopped. The world grew quiet and loud in the same moment. At the funeral, Imran held my arm while I trembled. Rania cried into her scarf. Nadia stood still like a tree bending under a storm. Haris whispered, "To Allah we belong, and to Him we return," over and over, as if he needed to hear it more than anyone else. After Saeed's death, the house changed again. The air felt heavier. The brown envelope sat on the table, staring at us like a guest we did not invite. Imran tucked it under his arm. "Don't worry, Ami. I will handle everything." I nodded. I had lost my husband. I did not want to lose my son, too. But grief can be a mirror. It shows what was already there. It does not have the mercy to hide anything. And so, slowly, the path began to bend toward the night when I stood outside my own gate with old keys that did not fit and a plastic bag that did not hold what I had lost. That night was not a sudden thing. It was the last step of many small steps, and I took each step quietly because I truly thought my silence could save us. The third day after Saeed's burial, the house felt like a bowl someone had dropped. From the outside, it still looked whole, but inside, small cracks spread in lines you could not see unless you knew where to look. I walked to his corner of the bed in the morning and placed my hand on the cold sheet. I whispered, "May Allah forgive you," and I smoothed the wrinkles as if that would keep him near. Imran came early that day, wearing a clean shirt and a serious face. He carried the brown envelope like it was a baby that needed careful hands. Rania followed, her perfume sweet and strong. She put the kettle on without asking me if I wanted tea and moved around the kitchen in short, tight steps. "Ami," Imran said, sitting at the table, "I will handle Baba's things. There are papers, the bank, the bus company, the pension office. You don't worry." I nodded. My tongue felt heavy, like a wooden spoon dipped in thick honey. "Allah make it easy," I said. I wanted to ask about the house. I wanted to ask about my name, my place, my future. But I looked at my son's face, the tired lines around his eyes, and I thought, later is a place where mothers keep their questions. The first week, Rania cleaned with energy. She folded Saeed's shirts and placed them in a bag for donation. She moved my prayer mat to the other side of the room. She stacked my pots and changed their order. "It will be better like this," she said, "more efficient." I let her. She was trying to control something, anything. Grief makes people rearrange furniture when they cannot rearrange fate. On Friday, Haris came after Jumu'ah with fresh dates and a gentle voice. Amina was with him, carrying a pot of soup. "Ami," Haris said, "come to our place for a few days. Rest, we will take care of you." I looked at his face and saw the love there. I also saw worry. He was not fooling me. He was worried about this house. He was worried about Imran's new authority, about Rania's sharpness, about the brown envelope moving from room to room like a shadow. "I will stay," I said. "If I leave now, the house will forget me." Haris smiled sadly. Amina held my hand and did not push. She knew the language of old women. Sometimes our bodies stand in a place our minds still need. In the evenings, I sat by the window after Maghrib and watched the lemon tree. A few leaves had turned yellow. I plucked them slowly and held them in my palm. They smelled like kitchens and childhood. I pressed them in the pages of an old notebook between recipes and phone numbers that no longer worked. Rania watched me from the couch with her phone in her hand. She was quiet, but her eyes were not. 2 weeks after the burial, Imran came with a man in a gray shirt and a leather folder. "This is Mr. Shakil," he said. "He will help us with paperwork." The man smiled politely and sat at our small table. He spread out papers, pointed at lines, and spoke quickly. "Just formalities," he said. "We need a signature here and thumbprint here for pension transfer, electricity bill name change, small things." He looked at me the way men look at women, who have always trusted men. "No need to worry, Auntie." "I will read," I said softly. I squinted. My eyes blurred. The words danced like ants. I could not hold them still. Imran put his hand on mine. "Ami, I checked everything. It is fine. We are family." I looked at his face. I remembered his first steps, the way he once held my finger with a tiny fist and refused to let go. I nodded. I pressed my thumb into the ink. I pressed it onto the paper, The mark looked like a smudge that could never be washed away. That evening, Haris came again. Imran had already left with Mr. Shakil. Rania was upstairs putting the baby to sleep. Haris stood near the shelf and looked around like he was trying not to look worried. "Ami," he said, "did you sign anything today?" "Just some bills," I replied. "For the house." Haris stared at the table where a tiny drop of ink had dried near the edge. He picked it off with his nail and asked nothing more. He had my habit of holding his words like water in his mouth, swallowing them before they could spill and make a mess. The first sharpness came a few days later. It was a small cut, but it bled. I had made tea and poured a cup for Auntie Mariam, who had come to visit. She bent over her cane at the doorway and asked, "Can I sit?" Before I could answer, Rania appeared. "Oh," she said, "we are low on sugar. Please, don't serve tea to guests without asking. We must save what we have. Times are not easy." Auntie Mariam's eyes flickered to mine. She heard the tone. We were not talking about sugar. I smiled at Rania. "We will buy more," I said. "I will manage." Rania pressed her lips together. She did not like my answers. They gave her nothing to push against. After Auntie left, I pried open my small wooden box, pulled out a coin, and set it on the table. "For sugar," I said. Rania did not take it. She was offended by the coin, or by me, I am not sure which. Days lengthened. The sun rose and set like a clock that no one needed to see because the body knows time. Nadia called when she could. Her voice was tired. Kamal had left a job again. He was always on the edge of a new plan. "Just one more try," he said. "Just one more friend who owes me." I wanted to tell Nadia to leave him, to come home, to bring whatever she could carry and let the rest burn. But I remembered my vows, my own early pride, my own stubborn love. I told her to pray. I told her to be careful with her money. I told her to come for lunch on Sunday. When she came on Sunday, Rania was cold. She moved plates on the table with quick, hard hands. She counted the eggs and made a face. Nadia noticed. She said nothing. We were 3 women eating in one small kitchen with our secrets curled up under our chairs like sleeping cats. Haris watched all of this. He tried to keep the peace. He joked with Imran and carried heavy bags for me. He changed a light bulb without being asked. One afternoon, I heard him in the hallway with Imran. Their voices were low at first. "Brother," Haris said, "why did you bring a man to the house to make Ami sign things? I could have gone with you. I could have read them." Imran's reply was sharp. "I am the eldest. Baba trusted me. Don't make everything a problem." "I am not making it a problem," Haris said. "I want to help. It is about Ami's rights." Rania passed by with the baby and cut in. "Haris, you have your own home. Let us handle ours." I stepped into the hallway and smiled. "Enough," I said softly. "Come drink tea." But my heart had heard something. A small drum had begun to beat. I could not quiet it. There were more changes. "Rania moved me into the smaller bedroom for fresh air," she said, "because it faced the lemon tree." She put the baby's crib in my old room beside Imran's things. I folded my clothes into a smaller cupboard. I lined up my scarves and pressed them with my hand to make them flat. I placed my Quran on the windowsill, where the light was good in the morning. I told myself this was not a loss, it was a rearrangement. Loss is when something goes and does not return. A rearrangement is different, I said to my heart. Don't be dramatic. Be grateful for a window with light. The brown envelope lived now on a high shelf in Imran's room. I saw him take it and bring it back. Sometimes Rania locked the door when they were inside. Once, they forgot to lock it. I went in to dust the table. The envelope sat open. Papers poked out like dry tongues. I touched the top one. It had my name on it. Aisha bint Abdullah, it said, in letters that spelled me like a spell. I moved to read the line below. My eyes shook. Before I could focus, Ranya's voice came from the doorway. "Looking for something?" she asked. I stepped back, my hand on my chest. "Dust," I said. "I was dusting." She smiled without softness. "We don't need you to tidy our room." She took the envelope and slid it in the drawer, locking it with a small key that glittered in the light. The key looked like a secret. The next week, Imran came home with a big smile and a box of sweets. "Good news," he said. "Baba had some pension money. We are approved. I will take care of all bills." He fed me a piece of sweet with his fingers like I was a child. I ate it because I still liked being fed by my son. I am not ashamed to say that, but money changes people faster than grief. The more Imran handled, the more he believed he should handle everything. He started talking like the house was his burden. "I fixed the leak," he would say. "I paid the electricity. I handled the bank." I began to feel like a guest in the house I had scrubbed with my hands for 15 years. When I wiped the table, Rania said, "Leave it. I have a system." When I cooked, she said, "We don't eat fried anymore." When I gave the gardener a glass of water, she said, "We don't give out our things freely." One evening, after Isha, I found Haris waiting for me outside the mosque. The night air was soft, and the street lights hummed. Haris rubbed his hands together. "Ami," he said, "I went to the municipal office today." "Why?" I asked quietly. "To check what papers were changed," he said. "I am sorry. I should have asked you. I did not want to make you worry if there was nothing." My breath caught. "And?" "The house is under Imran's name," he said. "It was changed before Baba's death, 2 months before. There is also a power of attorney. It gives Imran the right to sign for you. The clerk said you were there." Thumbprint. I looked at my hands. The lines were deep. The skin was thin. "I was there," I said. I pressed my thumb. Harris's voice was careful. "Do you remember what the paper said?" I remember my son saying, "Trust me." I swallowed. My throat felt dry. And I did. Harris wanted to argue. I saw it in his shoulders. But he had learned my language. He took a breath. "Come to our house, Ami. Please. Even for a weekend." "I will think," I said. The next morning, Rania was in the kitchen when I came to boil tea. "We must do repairs," she announced. "There is mold in the water tank. The paint is peeling. We should move out for 2 weeks while workers come. It is not good for the baby to breathe dust." "Where will we go?" I asked, stirring the pot. "We will stay at my mother's," she said. "You can go to Nadia or Harris." I lifted the spoon and watched the tea drip back into the pot. "I will stay," I said. "I can sleep at Auntie Miriam's if there is dust." Rania laughed a little. "There will be. Men in the house. You can't stay." Imran came in, adjusting his watch. "It is decided," he said. "We start next Monday." "It is fast," I murmured. He kissed my forehead. "Don't worry. You will like the fresh paint." His breath smelled of mint. He was my son. He was also someone I now struggled to recognize. I went to Nadia that afternoon with a small bag. Her apartment was noisy with traffic. The walls were thin. Kamal was home, sitting on the couch with his feet on the table. He said, "Salam, Ami," and then dropped his eyes back to his phone. Nadia hugged me and whispered, "Stay as long as you need." I kissed her hair and wished her life had been easier. The 2 weeks were long and crowded. I cooked in a small kitchen with a stove that hissed. I washed dishes in a sink that tilted. At night, Kamal came and went like a bird that could not decide if it wanted to fly or perch. He spoke loudly to friends about money and chances. Once, I heard him say, "Don't worry, Nadia's family will help." I went to the room and closed the door softly. I pressed my forehead to the carpet and asked Allah to protect my daughter from promises. On the 8th day, I called Imran. "Can I come home to get my Quran?" I asked. "I forgot it on the shelf." "Not now," he said. "The painters are here. Dust everywhere. I will bring it." "Put it in a plastic bag," I said. "So dust doesn't settle in the pages," he said. "Yes, yes," and hung up. On the 10th day, I went back to the house with my bag of spices and my small blue scarf. I wanted my chair by the window. I wanted the lemon leaves. I wanted my quiet. I wanted the soft sound of my own kettle. I wanted home, even if it had been rearranged. My old key did not fit. I tried the new key Rania had given me a month before. It turned, but the lock remained stubborn. I knocked. No one came. I knocked again. I could hear voices inside, low and fast. After many minutes, the door opened. Imran stood in the doorway, filling it with his body. His face was flushed. Behind him, I saw boxes stacked near the wall. Rania was holding the baby. She did not smile. "Ami," Imran said, "we told you Monday." "It is Monday," I replied. He glanced at Rania and then back at me. "No, not this Monday. Next Monday." Things changed. "Let me take my Quran," I said. "I will bring it to you later," Rania called. "Let me take my shawl from the chair," I said. My voice trembled. Imran shifted his feet. "It's not a good time." I looked at my son's face. The house behind him smelled of fresh paint and new decisions. The hallway light made everything too bright. I held my breath until the tightness passed. "Okay," I said. "I will come later." "Auntie," a voice called. I turned. Auntie Mariam was at her window across the alley. Her face was half hidden by the curtain. She did not say more. She did not need to. Her eyes asked a question I could not answer in that moment. I walked back down the steps, slowly, holding the railing. I sat on the curb and pressed my bag to my chest. My phone buzzed. It was Haris. "Ami, where are you?" "Outside," I said. He came in 10 minutes, breathless. Amina was with him. She sat beside me. "Come home with us," she said. "Please." I wanted to say, "No, I will try again," but the words that came out were different. "Okay," I said. "I am tired." That night at Haris's home, I slept on a clean bed with a soft pillow. Amina placed a glass of water and a small plate of dates near my head. Haris turned off the light and pulled the door half closed. In the dark, I whispered, "Alhamdulillah." And then I whispered again, "Alhamdulillah," because sometimes gratitude needs repetition to become strong enough to hold. In the morning, Haris showed me something on his phone. It was a list of entries from the property office, arranged by date. My name was there. Imran's name was there. And there was a new entry. The buyer's name was listed, Shaquille and Partners. The date was last week. The house was sold. I felt something inside me loosen and then settle. It did not break. It transformed. "They sold it," I said slowly. "While I was at Nadia's." Haris nodded. "The sale was signed the day you called asking for your Quran." I closed my eyes. For a second, I saw the lemon tree. I saw the small yellow leaves I had pressed into my notebook. I saw my mother's old mirror on the wall, reflecting a room I had made warm with tea and prayers. I opened my eyes and looked at my son. His face was tight with anger on my behalf, with sadness, with the helpless love of a child who wants to fix what he cannot fix. I reached for his hand. "Don't fight them," I said softly. It will eat you. Ami, he whispered, we can go to the police. We can go to the imam. We can do something. We can do dua, I replied. We can be patient. And we can keep our dignity. Amina spoke then, her voice steady. Aisha, I will stand with you, whatever you decide. If you want to fight, we will fight. If you want to be quiet, we will be quiet. But you will not be alone. I smiled at her in the way old women smile when they are too tired to cry. Thank you, I said, for the tea, for the bed, for your hands. That day, I went to the mosque and sat in the back corner where the light fell in a square on the carpet. I held my tasbih and moved each bead between my fingers. Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar. I did not ask for the house back. I asked for my heart to be steady. I asked for my tongue to speak only good or nothing at all. I asked for my silence to be a bridge and not a prison. When I returned to Haris's place, Amina was on the phone. She turned to me after she hung up. Rania called, she said. She wants to meet you at the park. She says there is something to explain. I nodded. We will go, I said, but only you and me, not Haris. In the late afternoon, we met at the small park near the market, where children screamed on swings and the air smelled of roasted corn. Rania was already there, pushing the baby's stroller back and forth with small, jerky motions. She wore large sunglasses, even though the sun was low. When she saw me, she took them off. Her eyes were red. I am sorry, she said quickly. Imran asked me to talk to you when he could not find the words. Amina stood a step behind me. I took a breath. Talk, I said. Rania looked down at her fingers. We sold the house. The bank was going to take it anyway. There were loans. Baba took money on the house. Before, we had to sell to save something. We will move to a new apartment. It will be smaller. We thought you would prefer to live with Haris. You are happier there. I let the wind move my scarf. I listened to the sound of children and of the baby in the stroller making small, sleepy noises. I am not a piece of furniture, I said. I am not a chair you move when you change rooms. Rania's face hardened just a little. It was like watching ice melt and then freeze again. We did what we had to do, she said. Imran is your son. He took responsibility. You raised him to be strong. He did what a man must do. He protected his family. I am his family, I replied. Am I not his family? She did not answer. We both knew she had spoken poorly. We both knew she would not admit it. I turned away. May Allah put barakah in your new place, I said. May He protect the baby from dust and from harsh words. May He protect me from bitterness. Rania bent her head. I could not tell if her silence was shame or anger or boredom. Maybe it was all three. Amina touched my elbow. Let's go, she whispered. That night, as I lay in bed, at Haris's home, I saw in my mind a thin line between two things, my right to speak and my choice to be silent. For years I had chosen silence because it kept the peace. But now, the silence sat in my mouth like a stone. It tasted like iron. I did not know if my silence had built a bridge over a fire or if it had built a wall around me that kept me from seeing the flames coming. I turned on my side and cried into the pillow softly so that no one would hear. Crying quietly is a habit you learn when you are young and marry into a house where you must earn your right to make noise. Days passed. I did not go back to the house. I did not call Imran. He did not call me. Amina once saw Rania at the clinic and said she looked thin. Stress, she told Amina, rolling her eyes. People don't understand what we carry. Amina did not reply. Nadia came to see me often. She held my hands and begged forgiveness for what she did not know, but the begged forgiveness was part of being a daughter in a family where things have gone wrong and you do not know where to start putting them right. She and Harris sat on the floor, their knees touching, and made plans I would not allow them to start. "We can talk to a lawyer," Harris said. "We can go to Uncle Salim, he knows people." I shook my head. "No courts," I said. "No police. No men who know people. We will keep our tongue clean. We will go to the graveyard." On the 40th day after Saeed's burial, I woke before Fajr with a heavy quiet in my chest. I washed, wrapped my scarf, and sat on the prayer mat. The room was dark, the window a square of slowly brightening gray. I opened my hands and spoke to Allah the way a child speaks when she finally tells her mother about the broken glass she had hidden. "Ya Allah," I said, "I am tired. You know, I have not spoken bad. I have not cursed. I have not shouted. I have accepted what came. But my heart is heavy. Lift it or make it strong." After Fajr, Haris drove me to the graveyard. The path was uneven. Dew soaked my shoes. Birds made small, brave sounds. We found Saeed's grave, the dirt still darker than the ground around it. A small marker stood at the head with his name and a date that had split my life in two. I stood and then I sat. I put my palm on the earth. It was cool. "Haris," I said, "give me a moment alone." He stepped back and sat on a low wall nearby, looking down, respectful. I leaned forward and spoke softly. "Saeed," I said, "you are beyond my words now. Allah will ask you, not me. I will not add stones to your record with my anger. May Allah forgive you. May He forgive me. I release you from my tongue." My voice broke on the last word. I put my forehead on the ground and breathed the scent of wet earth and grass. It smelled like beginning and ending at once. When I lifted my head, I saw a movement near the path. Imran was there, standing at a distance, his hands in his pockets. His shoulders were hunched. He looked older than his age. For a moment, he was a boy again in my eyes, standing at the door on his first day of school in a shirt too big for him. Then the man returned, tired, guilty, stubborn. He walked closer. Haris stood quickly, but I lifted my hand. "Let him come," I said. Imran stopped 2 steps away from me. He looked at the grave, then at my face. His eyes were wet. "Ami," he said. The word came out, like a cough. I waited. The wind moved a strand of hair at my temple. "I am sorry," he said. "For what?" I asked. My voice was calm. It felt like a lake with no ripples. "Everything," he whispered. He swallowed. "The house, the papers, the way I let Rania speak to you, the night at the door." He put his hand on his mouth and pressed. I did not know how to stop what had started. "You started it," Haris said quietly from behind me. His voice held a hot, thin anger. Imran looked at Haris with a face that asked for mercy while defending itself. "Baba had loans," he said to me. "He mortgaged the house without telling anyone. He borrowed from his cousin, from the bank, from a man in the market. He thought he could pay with a bonus from work that never came. After he died, the bank called. The cousin called. The man in the market came to the door." I panicked. Shakil made it look simple. Sell the house, clear the debts, move to a smaller place. He said you would be better with Harris anyway. He said old people are happier away from noise. "And the papers with my thumbprint?" I asked. He winced. "Power of attorney," he said. "It was easier to sell quickly. The market changes every week." I told myself it was for you. I told myself you trusted me. I told myself many things. "And the night you told me to go?" I asked. My voice stayed soft. I was surprised by my own control. He turned his face away. Rania said the baby was coughing from paint. Her mother was in my ear. The buyers were rushing. They wanted to take possession early. Shakil said, "Don't let people stay. It complicates." I felt trapped. I chose the easy cruelty over the hard kindness. My eyes burned. "You could have told me," I said. "You could have put the papers on the table and let me read slowly with my finger. We could have eaten plain rice for a year and paid the bank little by little. We could have all squeezed into one room and shared our breath. We could have done many things, but you chose the one thing that broke me." Imran's shoulders shook. "I know," he said. "I know." I waited for anger to fill me like a flame fills dry grass. It did not. Something else came instead, something both lighter and heavier. It was a grief that had been hiding behind all my other griefs. It stepped forward now, unafraid. It was the grief of knowing that the child you made from your own blood can hurt you more than a stranger. Not because he is cruel by nature, but because he is weak in places you did not see when you were busy making sure he had clean clothes and warm food. I closed my eyes and then opened them. I looked at my two sons. One stood near me, his face set in protection. The other stood before me, his face open in remorse. Both were mine. Both were mirrors of my work and my mistakes. "Listen," I said. "I am going to say something, and once I say it, I do not want you to carry it like a weapon against each other later. I want you to carry it like a prayer." They both nodded. They were men, but in that moment, they were boys again, waiting for me to decide how the day would go. "I forgive you, Imran," I said, "not because you deserve it, not because it was small, not because I forgot how it felt to stand outside my own door. I forgive you because I need to be free. I forgive you so that my heart does not become a room full of smoke. I forgive you because I fear the day I stand before Allah more than I fear being without a house. And I ask Allah to forgive me for every moment I remained silent when I should have spoken clearly, for every time my sabr became an excuse to avoid a truth." Imran made a small sound, like something fell inside him and broke open. He reached for my hand. I let him take it. His palm was warm and rough. I felt the calluses from years of work and the new tremble of a man who finally realized the weight of his choices. Harris stepped closer and put his hand over ours. It was a clumsy pile of hands, old, young, shaking, stubborn. We stood like that for a minute, the three of us, my forehead still damp from the earth, the morning light making everything look kinder than it was. "Now," I said, pulling my hand away gently, "go home. Take care of your wife and your child. Do not let anyone speak badly to your mother again, even if your mother is me and I am not in your house. Do not let money turn you against blood. Do not sign papers fast. Read them out loud. And if you ever raise your voice at me again, may Allah remind you of this morning." Imran nodded, his eyes down. "Ami," he whispered, "come live with us when the apartment is ready. We will make a room for you. I will buy you a new kettle. The baby will need you. I will—" "No," I said. "Not now. Maybe later. For now, I will stay with Harris. Let the dust settle in your life before you bring me into your rooms. Let your wife soften. Let your pride soften. Then we will talk." He looked like he wanted to argue, but he did not. "Make dua for me," he said. "I already am," I replied. We walked out of the graveyard together, but then at the gate, we turned in different directions. It felt right. People think turning points are loud and sudden like thunder. Sometimes they are soft, like a door closing after a long time stuck open. You only hear it if you are listening. In the weeks that followed, the house disappeared from us like a boat sliding away from a dock. There were rumors. Someone said the new owners planned to tear down the lemon tree to build an extra balcony. Someone said Shakil made double money by buying low and selling high. Someone said Imran got less than the house was worth because he had to sell fast. I did not chase the rumors. They were like flies. If you spend your day waving at them, you forget to eat. Then, one afternoon, Rania came to see me. She walked into Horace's home without asking, her shoes clicking. Amina offered her tea. She refused and stood in the middle of the small living room like a tight knot. "I am pregnant again," she announced. As if the words were a weapon or a gift, she was not sure which. "We need your dua." "Allah bless your child," I said. "May he make it easy." She shifted, unsatisfied by my gentle answer. "Also," she added, "we need help. The apartment is more expensive than we expected. The deposit, there were problems. If you have gold, if you have anything." Amina stiffened. "Rania," she said, "this is not the time." Rania's eyes flashed. "Haris, you always make yourself look good," she snapped. "Imran is the one doing everything. Now we are drowning, and you stand here like a hero with your small salary and your wife who thinks she is mother of saints." "Enough," I said quietly. Rania's mouth opened and then closed. She looked at me. She saw something new, perhaps. Or maybe she only saw her own reflection in my calm. "We will manage," she said finally, and left. That night, I opened my wooden box. The silver bracelet from my nikah night lay there, thin and worn at the clasp. I held it and thought of Saeed's shy smile, the way he had placed it on my wrist with hands that smelled of dust and work. I put it back. It was not for selling. It was a story. You do not sell a story. The 2 thin gold bangles were gone. I had given them to Nadia. I closed the box and placed it back on the shelf. I whispered, "Ya Razak," and went to sleep. 2 days later, a message arrived from Nadia at dawn. "Ami, can you come?" I called Amina and we went. Nadia's eyes were swollen. Kamal had been arrested over a gambling debt. A man had come to the house late and shouted in the hallway. Neighbors gathered. It ended at the police station. Nadia's hands shook as she made tea. "I am so ashamed," she whispered. "I am tired of being ashamed." I held her. "Shame belongs to the one who did wrong," I said, "not to the one who is living through the result." We sat in silence. Amina made calls. Harris came after work. We collected what small money we could and paid part of the debt to get Kamal released. He cried and promised to change. I did not believe him, but I did not say so. I did not know if my silence was kindness or cowardice. It is hard to tell sometimes. The next week brought another blow. Imran lost his job. The car parts shop had cut staff. He came to Horace's door late at night, his face pale. "I don't know what to do," he said. "The rent, the baby, the new baby. Rania is angry. Her mother is shouting. I feel like I am drowning." Haris brought him inside and sat him down. I made tea. I did not say, "Now you know what it feels like to lose a house." I did not say, "Allah sees." I did not say, "This is your test." I did not say many things. I put sugar in the tea and stirred until it disappeared. I handed him the cup and sat beside him quietly. He drank and breathed. Sometimes tea is the difference between falling apart and holding on for another day. That night, after he left, I stood by the window and looked at the sky. It was very clear. The stars looked close enough to touch. I lifted my hands. "Ya Allah," I said. I asked for a turning point. I see it now. It is here. Make me steady. Make me fair. Do not let me enjoy his pain. Do not let me turn my heart into a judge's bench. Let my silence be worship, not weapon. A few days after that, the moment came that defined everything for me. It was small. It was quiet. It was made of very ordinary words. Rania sent a message asking me to come to the new apartment to see the baby's room. Amina wanted to come with me, but I said, "No, I will go alone." I took a bus. I carried a small toy I had sewn from old fabric, a little bird with a red beak. The building was new, tall, and smelled of fresh plaster. I climbed the stairs slowly. When I knocked, Rania opened. Her eyes were puffy. The apartment was almost empty. There were no curtains. The walls were plain. A mattress lay on the floor. "Come," she said. She took me to a small room painted pale blue. A crib stood in the corner. A faded blanket hung over the side. "Isn't it beautiful?" she asked, hoping I would fill the room with my approval. "It is enough," I said, touching the crib lightly. Enough is sometimes better than beautiful. I placed the little bird in the crib. It looked too bright in the empty room. We stood in silence. Then Rania sighed, a short, sharp sound. "I did not think things would be like this," she said. "I thought selling the house would solve everything. I thought we would be free." "Debt does not end with selling," I said. "It ends with discipline." She stared at me. "Do you hate me?" she asked suddenly. I looked at her face, younger than mine by decades, full of fight and fear. I remembered being young and thinking that if I pushed hard enough, life would bend to my will. I remembered being wrong. "No," I said. "I do not hate you. I do not even know you well enough to hate you. I know your sharpness. I know your perfume. I know your worry. That is not enough to hate or to love. That is only enough to make dua." She swallowed and nodded. Then she said in a flat voice, "Imran blames me. He says it was my idea. It wasn't. It was his choice. I pushed. Yes, but he chose." She laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "He is a man in front of me and a boy in front of you. He tries to be both and fails at both." "Men are boys who grew tall," I said. "And mothers are women who stopped being girls long ago." Rania leaned against the wall. "Sometimes," she whispered, "I think Allah is punishing me for the things I said to you, for the way I looked at you when you wanted to pour tea for a neighbor." Tears spilled over. She wiped them with her hand angrily. "I do not like to cry," she snapped, angry at her own softness. "Punishment is in Allah's hands," I said. "So is mercy. We make our choices. Allah makes our road. Sometimes the road is hard because we chose a sharp turn. Sometimes it is hard because He wants to take us somewhere better. How can we know? We walk, and we say Alhamdulillah when we can, and Astaghfirullah when we must." She covered her face and sobbed quietly for a few seconds. Then she straightened. "You can come here if you want," she said. "Sometimes. To see the baby." "Thank you," I replied. I left and walked slowly to the bus stop. The sun was warm. A woman was selling boiled corn with salt and chili. I bought one and ate it standing there, the spice making my lips burn pleasantly. I felt something settle inside me. It was not peace, not yet, but it was the beginning of peace. It was the moment I decided that my silence would not be the silence of fear anymore. It would be the silence of control. I would choose what I spoke and when. I would choose what I held and what I released. I would wait for Allah to write the rest, and I would write my part with steady hands. That night, I went again to Saeed's grave. The sky was dark, the wind was cool. I placed my palm on the soil and spoke aloud, though no one heard me but Allah. "Maybe our house was always meant to be a stop, not a home forever," I said. "Maybe Allah wanted me to carry my house in my chest, not on my back. Maybe the lemon tree will grow again for someone else and give shade to a new mother who will hang white cloth to dry in the sun. Ya Allah, make me happy for her. Ya Allah, keep harm far from my children, even when they are the harm. Ya Allah, make my silence a form of patience that builds me, not breaks me. As I walked away, the cemetery lights flickered and then shone steady. The path ahead was clear enough to take. The next step, that was all I needed. Not the whole map, just the next step. At Harris's home, I built a new rhythm. I woke for Fajr and sat by the small window that faced a quiet courtyard. Birds hopped on the wall and pecked at crumbs the neighbors left out. Amina made breakfast with gentle hands and a calm heart. She never made me feel like a guest. She made me feel like air in the house, necessary and unnoticed in a kind way. I set up a small corner in their living room for sewing. I borrowed a second-hand machine and fixed it with oil and patience. Old pillowcases became new cushion covers. Torn shirts became neat cloths. I stitched late into the afternoon, with Surah Rahman playing softly on my phone. The sound of the machine and the verses blended in my mind like rain and leaves. Amina told the neighbors I was sewing, and people came with small repairs. A boy brought his school bag with a broken zipper. An old woman brought a dress with fading buttons. I took only a little money, or sometimes a bag of onions or a handful of mint leaves. It felt good to make something whole again with my hands. When I made a careful stitch, my heart would soften. Fixing fabric helped fix me, too. On Thursdays, I started a small Quran circle for 3 ladies on our street. We sat on the rug with our feet tucked under us. We read slowly, each according to our ability. I did not teach like a scholar. I read like a mother. We spoke about patience and about the stories of the prophets. We cried when we spoke of Yaqub's grief and his long, deep sabr. We smiled when we spoke of Yusuf and the shirt that carried the smell of healing. After we finished, I made mint tea and a small plate of biscuits. We did not solve our lives, but we did not feel alone. Nadia came more often. She learned to sew with me again, the way she had long ago when she was a girl in our little house. Her fingers were quick, her eyes were sharp. She made bright cushion covers that sold first. I gave her the money directly. I wanted her to feel the weight of her own work in her palm. Buy rice, I told her. Buy soap. Buy something only for yourself. She nodded and tucked the bills into a little pouch she wore under her scarf. Kamal tried to do better for a few weeks. He swept the floor and came home early. He sat with us while we cut fabric and talked about starting a small business that would need just one small loan. I looked at him, at the way he looked at the future, like it was a fruit he could pluck easily. I kept my mouth closed. When men are full of new plans, wisdom is often quiet. 2 months later, he disappeared for 3 days and returned smelling of smoke and regret. Nadia's eyes told me what her mouth did not say. She was tired. One morning, a message came from a number I did not know. It said, "We are the new owners of your old house. We found a small wooden box in a high cupboard. Please tell us when to return it." My breath stopped for a moment. I showed the message to Haris. He called the number and spoke kindly. We went that afternoon. The street was the same, but it was also different. Our gate had been painted a clean white. The lemon tree stood thinner, its branches cut back. A woman met us at the door with polite smiles. "We moved a shelf to paint," she said. "We found this." She held the wooden box I had kept for 40 years. It looked smaller, like things do when you see them after a long time. I thanked her and pressed the box to my chest. "Would you like to see the house?" she asked. I looked at Harris and back at her. "Only the kitchen," I said softly. and the window near the lemon tree. She led me in. The new paint smelled clean. The kitchen had a different stove. My old teapot was gone, of course. The window still faced the lemon tree. Light fell on the sill the way it always had. I touched the wall with my palm and said, Alhamdulillah. Then I turned and left, before my memory could ask for more than I could bear to give. Outside, Auntie Miriam waved from her window. Her face looked smaller and paler. Later that week, I learned she had fallen and broken her hip. I went to her room every day to sit and read to her from Surah Maryam and to help her drink water from a straw. She squeezed my fingers with a strength that surprised me. "Tell your story," she whispered once. "Do not let your silence be a cage." 2 weeks later, she died quietly in her sleep. Her family thanked me for sitting with her. When they cleaned her room, they handed me her old kettle. "She asked for you to have it," they said. I took it home and polished it. When it whistled the first time on Harris's stove, I cried in the softest way, and then I wiped my tears and made tea. News moved around us like the evening breeze. Someone said Shakil's office had been sealed by the authorities for papers that were not clean. Another person said he had left the city at night. Another said he was seen in the market with a small plastic bag and tired eyes. I did not know which story was true. I only knew that money won by bending the truth bends the person holding it. I said a quiet Astaghfirullah and prayed that Allah would make him return what needed returning and face what needed facing. I had stopped looking at the old keys long ago, but one day they fell from my shawl pocket as I cleaned. I picked them up and turned them in my palm. Metal remembers the shape of hands, I think. The keys were cold. They were also harmless now. They could not open anything. I kept one and gave the other two to the children as small reminders. "Not everything that fits in your pocket belongs to you forever," I said. They smiled, not fully understanding, as children do. Imran called me every Friday now. The calls were short at first. "Assalamu alaikum, Ami." "Wa alaikum salam, beta." "How are you?" "Alhamdulillah." "Do you need anything?" "No." Then he would say, "Make dua," and hang up. Slowly, the calls grew longer. He spoke about the new job he had found as a driver for a small company. "Like Baba," he said, with a voice that carried both pride and a soft sadness. He told me he was attending Fajr in the mosque again. "It helps," he whispered. I told him, it always helped. One day, he brought back my Quran, wrapped just as I had asked months ago in a plastic bag to keep the dust away. He placed it on the table and did not sit. His eyes were restless. "I kept it by my bed," he said. "I read when the baby was sick. I hope you are not angry." I pressed my hand to the cover. "If you read, I am only grateful," I said. "Allah's words are for all of us." He nodded and left quickly, as if his feet were afraid his heart would stay if he stood still too long. Rania did not come for a while. Then, near the end of her pregnancy, she sent a voice message. Her voice was thin and trying to be steady. "Ami, I am tired. I am sorry for many things. Please come if you can." I went. She was lying on a thin mattress. The apartment smelled of soap and boiled rice. The baby inside her shifted under her hand. I sat with her for an hour without speaking much. I massaged her feet the way Amina often did for me. When I got up to leave, she caught my hand and said, "Do you think Allah can forgive a person who knew better and still did wrong?" I looked at her. "Yes," I said, "because all of us are that person." She closed her eyes and cried without sound. The baby was born on a rainy morning, a little girl with a serious face and a strong cry. Imran called me from outside the hospital room. "She is here," he said. His voice sounded like sunlight. I went as soon as Amina could drive me. I held the baby and said the Adhan softly in her ear. Her small fingers opened and closed around nothing, reaching for the world. I prayed, Ya Allah, make her mercy in this family. Make her a cooling to our eyes. Rania watched me with wet eyes. Later, she pressed a warm bowl of soup into my hands and whispered, Stay. So I stayed for the afternoon. I folded tiny clothes and boiled water. I fixed the corner of a pillow with 3 small stitches. Not all days were soft. Sometimes the old anger woke in me like a stray dog. It would bark and scratch at the inside of my chest. Those days, I did not trust my tongue. I used my hands. I kneaded dough until it was smooth and alive. I swept the floor until it looked new. I scrubbed the kettle until it shone. Work calms the storm in me. I think Allah placed that gift in mothers so we do not drown. Haris and Amina gave me space and gave me love. They never made my past into a daily knife. They did not speak badly of Imran in front of me, even when they were hurt by him. They taught me a new kind of family, one where people do not have to agree to be kind, where people choose dignity over being right. We agreed on one thing. We would keep doors open. We would never slam them. We would wait for hearts to change, and in the meantime, we would put food on the table and call each other to prayer. Nadia faced a crossroads. Kamal's debts returned like weeds. She stood in my sewing corner one night with her scarf twisted in her hands. Ami, she said, I am so tired of being sorry. Her voice sounded like a girl's voice again, the way it had when she scraped her knee and came running to me. I held her face. You are brave, I said. Bravery is not shouting. It is choosing a clean path, even if it is uphill. She took a breath. I want to ask for Kula, she whispered. I want to start again before I am old. I did not rush to answer. I prayed in my heart for wisdom. Then I said, whatever you choose, I will stand beside you. Just don't let fear make your choice. A month later, she filed the papers. It was not fast, and it was not easy. She faced questions and eyes. She faced her own doubts. But when it was done, she stood straighter. She wore a bright scarf. She started to laugh again. Word spread about my sewing. A schoolteacher brought a bag of curtains. A shopkeeper gave me old fabric in exchange for mending 4 shirts. I bought a bigger tin for my savings. I put in a small amount each week, even if it was just a few coins. One day, I used that money to buy a small lemon plant from a boy who sold saplings on the corner. We planted it in a large pot in Harris's courtyard. The soil was rich and damp. Bismillah, I whispered as we pressed the roots gently. I watered it with the careful love you give to second chances. I also learned to speak where speaking was needed. When a cousin made a joke about old women being extra luggage in their sons' homes, I looked at him calmly and said, Be careful. Allah listens when we belittle what He made heavy. Your mother carried you. Do not carry her like a burden. He flushed and looked down. Later, he came to me and apologized. I poured him tea without drama. I have learned that a clean sentence, said once, can be stronger than 1,000 complaints. Imran and Rania asked me to move in with them more than once. Each time, I answered the same way. Not now. Let's visit. Let's eat together. Let's build trust like walls built with slow hands. We began to meet at Haris's home for dinner once a week. I cooked simple food and put it on the floor on a cloth, the way I like. We ate with our hands and said Alhamdulillah. We talked about small things. We did not always talk about the past. We did not need to pick the wound every time. We put balm instead. One evening, Imran came early and sat with me in the yard. The lemon sapling had 3 new leaves. He stared at it as if it held an answer. Ami, he said, I got a call from the bank today. One of Baba's accounts had a small amount left. they had been slow to process. "It is not much, but I want you to keep it." He placed an envelope on the table and pushed it toward me. Paper inside rustled like a small bird. I touched the envelope and pushed it back. "Use it to clear whatever remains on the apartment," I said. "I do not want money from papers anymore. If you wish to give me something, give me time, give me respect. Bring the children, let them know my stories." He nodded slowly. "I can do that," he said. His eyes softened. "I can do that." When his little daughter, my new granddaughter, started to toddle, she would run to me at our dinners and press her small hands on my knees. She would babble and then shout a clear, "Ami?" by mistake, mixing her worlds. We all laughed. Rania laughed the loudest sometimes, surprised by her own joy. Children can soften rooms like warm bread. They do not know the histories we carry. They only know who holds them gently. Months passed. The lemon plant grew. It took the shape of hope, thin but steady. A tiny white flower appeared. Its smell was clean and sharp. I stood by it in the evening and let the scent rise to my face. It smelled like the old window, but it was new. It reminded me that memory is not a house you must live in forever. It can be a garden you visit, where you take a deep breath and then you come home to the present. One afternoon, as I came back from the market with a bag of potatoes and a handful of coriander, I saw a city bus slow near our lane. The driver leaned out to look. It was Imran, he waved. His smile was simple. He did not look like a man in a war. He looked like a man at work, doing a job well. My chest filled with something I had not felt for a long time. It was pride without pain. He stopped the bus at the corner later and walked back with a small packet of sweets. "For your circle," he said. "For the ladies." I took it and said, "May Allah put sweetness in your rizq." I still visited Saeed's grave, not every week, not with heavy tears. I went sometimes in the cool hours and placed my palm on the earth. I spoke quietly. "You gave me children," I said once. "You gave me years. You gave me tests. I have grown old in the shade of what we built. May Allah forgive you. May Allah forgive me. We were young, and we did not know the cost of our silences." Not everything was neat in the end. Some days Imran was late to call. Some days Rania was sharp because she was tired. Some days Nadia sat quietly and did not want to talk. Some days Harris came home with worry in his eyes about bills. Life was still life, but there was a steady line through it now. It was faith. It was the habit of not turning every pain into a weapon. It was the choice to make tea and to pray and to leave what is beyond my hands in the hands that never slip. I wore my niqab bracelet again. The clasp still worked. When it slid over my wrist, it felt like a circle finally closed. I did not wear it to show anyone. I wore it while I stirred soup, while I folded laundry, while I counted the beads of my tasbih. It reminded me that I have been a wife, a mother, a woman with my own story. I am not only someone who lost a house. Sometimes at night, before sleep, I opened my wooden box and looked at the old letters from my father. The paper was thin and smelled like time. "Be patient," one letter said, "but do not be foolish in your patience. The earth is patient, but it also grows thorns when it must." I smiled and placed the letter back. My patience had changed shape. It was not quiet to avoid storms anymore. It was quiet to make room for Allah's voice. It was quiet with a spine. I am 65 years old now. My knees still ache on stairs. My hands still remember every pot I scrubbed and every child I held. When I sit with my tea near the lemon plant and the air is soft, I feel a kind of peace I had not known when I was younger. It is not the peace of having everything. It is the peace of not needing everything to feel complete. People ask me, "Do you miss the house?" I tell them the truth. Yes. I miss the window and the lemon tree and the way the adhan sounded there. I miss the shape of our rooms. Then I add another truth. But I do not miss asking a house to give me what only Allah can give. Bricks can fall, paint can peel, keys can change. What Allah gives to the heart, no lock can keep away. If you ask me what hurt the most, it was not the loss of walls. It was the night my own son looked at me like a stranger. That memory sits in me like a stone. But even stones can become steps if you do not put them on your chest. I have put that stone under my foot. I stand on it when I need to reach a higher shelf. I use it to remind myself that hearts change. I use it to remind myself that forgiveness is not a favor to those who hurt us. It is a gift we give our own souls. There is a kind of silence that breaks you. There is another kind that builds you. The first is afraid. It freezes your mouth when you should protect yourself. The second is chosen. It gives space for truth without shouting. I pray I have learned the second kind. I still make mistakes. I still hold my words too long sometimes. But now, when I am quiet, I ask myself, is this silence fear or faith? If it is fear, I speak, even if my voice shakes. If it is faith, I put the kettle on and let my calm do the talking. I tell my story now because Auntie Miriam told me to tell it. I tell it to my granddaughters, to my daughters in faith, to anyone who thinks patience means letting others walk over you. Patience is not weakness. Patience is strength tied to trust in Allah. It is waiting without letting your heart rot. It is forgiving without forgetting what you learned. It is walking away from a fight that would destroy your family and walking toward the prayer mat where the real battle is won. If there is a justice in this world that people can see, there is also a justice they cannot see. Shakil's office closed. Kamal lost what he chased. Rania learned that a home is not the same as control. Imran learned that love must be stronger than pride. And I learned that Allah's plan carries us even when we think we are drowning. Sometimes the wave that took your house brings you to the shore of your own heart. Now, when I watch the lemon plant in our courtyard, I think of the old tree. I send a prayer to the strangers who live in those rooms. I hope their children trace cracks on the ceiling and dream the way my children did. I hope a mother washes the sill and looks out and says, Alhamdulillah, for the light. I hope she keeps a small wooden box on a high shelf and fills it with letters that speak to her in the late afternoon. I hope she forgives herself when she cannot hold everything together, and forgives others when they forget how to be kind. Maybe Allah wanted me to lose a house so I could find home inside myself. Maybe He wanted my keys to stop turning, so my tongue would start turning in dua. Maybe He wanted me to carry my patience in silence until it became worship. When I look back now, the shock still stings, but the ending is soft. I did not become smaller because of what I lost. I became clearer because of what I learned. So I sit with my tea, with my bracelet, with my lemon plant, and I say, Alhamdulillah for what was, Alhamdulillah for what is, Alhamdulillah for what will be. If you are listening to me and your home feels like a place of pain, do not think you are alone. Allah sees, Allah hears. Make your choices with dignity. Ask for help when you must. Speak when silence is fear. Be quiet when silence is faith. Forgive for His sake, and forgive yourself, too. Your heart will become a home again, even if your address changes. If Aisha's story touched your heart, please follow Voices of Fatima, like this video, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that Allah's plan is always kinder than we think. If you were in Aisha's place, would you fight in court or choose patience? Why? May Allah heal every broken home and every tired heart. Ameen.